All right, we just ate lunch. Let's go check out this Merlo.
Don't worry, YouTube. I'm putting my seatbelt on. For safety.
Does anyone have a song request?
Do you have Barbie Girl?
And don't do any more burnouts. That was a special occasion.
All right, grabbing the trucks and headed out to the Merlo job.
Yep. Well, first we gotta load the wood and grind the stone. But after that.
All right, here we are, job 2. It's like 4 o'clock. It's actually pretty late. I hope it goes fast. So this is our tree, dead ash. Again, is that do you do any trees other than dead ash?
It's not today.
And here is the Merlo. This is what I've been waiting for ever since I showed up. I've been really eager to see this thing in action. It's really small. It's crazy how small it is. So he drove it here this morning. It goes like 26 miles an hour. I think he said it took him like 45 minutes to get here.
Quick job meeting.
Okay. This is really busy with bicyclers and it's not gonna stop. So what I'm thinking is we set the Merlo up here. Basically just block the road. If anyone comes down here, they'll have to turn around. And then I basically grab branches and I set them down there and I kind of push them out there. And then you guys can feed into the chipper. We're all gonna be really close together. This is the other weird thing is like the knuckle boom crane, you've got this huge boom and you can kind of like turn the branches any way you want. Where like this, I just have to go like this and set it down and let go. So you can't like spin the branch 360 and then like point it that way because you're not grabbing it in the middle, you're grabbing it at the butt.
Okay.
Felipe, how long have you been with Reon?
Almost 10 years.
Wow. Yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah. It's not bad.
Yeah. Yeah, you like doing tree work?
I do.
What's your favorite part?
Going home.
I don't think that's true. You were working super late.
I like driving the Avant.
You drive the Avant?
Yeah.
You're
It's
super
very
good
cool
at it.
machine.
Yeah, it's really impressive to watch you run that thing.
Yeah, it's like one of the best machines that we have for tree work. So
Yeah, it's amazing.
I'm very excited to drive every day.
You drive it every day?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think that's my favorite part.
Yeah, that's cool. Like this was originally sticking straight out, and then they modified it so it's on hinges so the Avant wouldn't be hitting it all the time. It makes a lot of sense actually, because if the winch line snaps too, it's a lot easier to fix that.
So I don't hit it with the Avant.
Yeah, so Felipe doesn't hit it with the Avant. It's a really good idea.
Yeah, so the used to be touching every time with the hoses, hydraulic hoses on the front grapple when you get the stop very short in there, but now that thing is out of the way, you can get the stop very small stop in there, so without hitting it.
Cool. All-wheel steering. Wow. It's like a little pickup truck radius. So how big is this thing, Reon?
17 feet long, and when the outriggers are set up, it's 17 feet wide.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's tiny.
Yeah.
And how much does it weigh?
It weighs 50,000 pounds.
It's a stout little guy.
Right.
Wow. And how long is the stick?
96 foot of boom. I think it says on the back.
96 feet. And it weighs 11,000 pounds? No, it is that its capacity, 11,000 pounds? Can it scratch the paint? So this thing can lift 11,000 pounds?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a lot of buttons.
Yep.
But I guess this is the cab you drive. So you're driving and operating from this chair.
Yep.
That's so wild. Some space age tree cutting technology.
Come on, buddy. That's it. Okay.
Good to go?
Yep.
Just like that, huh?
Ready to work. Merlo time.
Now he's going to drive forward a little bit to get closer so that he's got more capacity. He can do it all without even getting out of the cab. It's insane.
my stump cut. Let's go, let's go, let's go!
Merlo. The slowest part was you waiting on us.
We're slow, that's the thing. Sounds bullshit.
It's just Reon's.
Reon doesn't like it when I make fun of him.
I couldn't believe it. So maybe we've been here an hour and 20 minutes.
That's not bad, right?
It's a big tree, man. You got to think, what would it take without a crane at all? You know, you'd be here all day. You know. did it an hour and a half maybe.
When I saw this thing in action, how did you? You can't unsee it. When I know that there's a faster way to do something, I have to do it that way.
Yeah. I'm like in shock.
Really?
I couldn't believe it, dude. And the saw, like, blows through the wood.
Yeah, it just
Just blows through it. Like, no resistance. And that's crazy hard wood.
Pull this thing off as I'm backing up.
I'm good.
Are you sure?
Yep.
Are you sure?
90%.
The trunk from the last job is gonna go in the trailer. We gotta go to the last job and put the trunk in the trailer.
It's a lot of wood in that truck, man. That's a lot of wood for one day.
There's still room though.
Overwhelming day for me. My first knuckle boom job and the Merlo. Big day. We've been here for about an hour and 40 minutes since we showed up. It's a big tree.
We should ask for a pay raise. Be like, you got the Merlo, we need a raise. It's getting hard around here.
Okay. You gotta drive. What do you want me to drive?
What do you want me to drive?
What do you feel most comfortable driving? Probably the chipper truck, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I've
You're
never
really
driven any of these. So
You're really good at driving manual, right?
I'm driving manual. What?
How good? Because one time someone told
I don't
me,
know.
one time
Your standards are like, oh, don't close the door too hard. So you know, I don't want to say I'm really good. I can drive. I can drive whatever you want me to drive.
You can drive manual really good.
Yeah.
Dude,
Huh?
we make
Yeah. Like split shift or just regular?
I'd rather chipper truck. Oh,
Just regular? Yeah, I can drive that.
No problem.
Yeah.
You're a really good manual driver.
All right, Dave
Yeah, I'm a really good manual
Okay.
driver.
Dave wants to drive the
You're
Merlo.
driving the crane.
All right, headed back. Reon is driving the Merlo home, so I'm taking the chip truck. We're almost back. It looks pretty close.
Started this day in the dark, ending it in the dark. Get them chains unhooked. Let's go. All right, well, all good things come to an end eventually, and it's been an absolute pleasure being here at Reon's place. He's taken off for work this morning. I'm taking off for my new destination in just a little bit. So before we go, I had some questions for you, Reon.
Yep.
So we used 3 different,
Get out of the sun here.
yeah, it's quite the wood pile. We used 3 different types of cranes, and I was wondering if you could just, you know, real quick, give me your thoughts on, you know, maybe the pros and cons of each one, like the stick boom You know, start with the stick boom, then the tree mech, then the
Well, I
Merlo.
guess it depends on what kind of stick boom you're talking about. But let's just say 100, or well, let's say 80 ton or bigger stick boom. Pros, you can reach a lot farther with that than anything else, and you've got a higher tip height. So if you need to lift tree parts or branches over other trees, the stick boom is definitely going to be the best bet. So if there's a dead tree behind another tree and you need to reach over that, stick boom is probably the best option for that type of removal.
What do you think the worst thing about a stick boom is?
Having to set slings and the manpower that it takes. To do it as efficiently as possible, I like to have one person setting slings and one person making the cuts, because then there's no downtime in between the cuts.
And then you've also got one person operating, so it's
Yeah.
a 3-man gig.
So it's basically a 3-person operation to do the stick boom jobs the way that I like to do them.
Okay. And the tree mech?
I'd say the tree mech has a lot of pros. Number one being you don't have to set slings for most of the branches. You can reach underneath other tree canopies, and the more you boom down, your capacity doesn't change.
And it has a grapple saw.
And it has a grapple saw. Yeah, so you can make cuts with the grapple. They are small cuts, but I've cut down entire trees before without a climber with the tree mech. It's, you know, people do it all the time.
What do you think the downside of it is? I mean, we didn't use it the first day.
I'd say one of the biggest downsides of the tree mech would be setting it up on unlevel ground.
All right.
A stick boom, you can lift the tires off the ground and get it perfectly level. Where a tree mech, you always have to have the tires touching the ground, so now you have to put dunnage underneath the tires to get it level, and it's definitely not as good of a tool to use on a hill.
Right, okay. And the Merlo, I mean, that thing blew my mind. That thing was crazy.
The Merlo?
Yeah.
That has, I'd say the pros for the Merlo are you can take crane size picks without setting slings and without a climber. So you're just taking, you know, 2,000 to 4,000 pound cuts with a grapple saw.
And you can't do that big of cuts with your grapple saw on the tree mech. It's just too much.
The tree mech, you can only maybe take 20-foot long pieces.
Yeah.
And there's no shock load when you take the piece. On the tree mech, you grapple saw cut a piece, the grapple folds down and kind of like moves the boom around, where like the Merlo grabs a piece, cuts it, and the piece stays standing straight up and down. There's no shock from it.
Right. But I did notice with the tree mech, when you're putting the pieces in the chipper, you know, you had the piece and then you would turn it and then put it down, whereas the Merlo, you put it straight down.
Yep.
So it looks like the landing zone,
yeah, you can
a little more limited.
You can set pieces away a lot further, obviously, with the tree mech than you can with the Merlo. Another pro of the Merlo is getting it into backyards. It has all-wheel steer, so all 4 wheels turn. So when you lay out a plywood path in someone's backyard, you can turn the plywood around corners, and the Merlo tires track perfectly around the corners. It's a dream to put into someone's backyard.
And it was, what, 17 feet by 17 feet
Yep.
set up?
Yep. It's 17 feet long, not including the boom, of course, but just the tire footprint from front of the machine to the back of the machine. 17 feet long, and then when the outriggers are out, it's 17 feet wide.
And the tree mech setup was what, 28 by 32?
The tree mech is 35-foot long truck, and when the outriggers are set up, it's 28-foot wide outrigger span.
And usually stick booms, usually 40-foot long by 24 feet wide. So so the Merlo's tiny.
Merlo is tiny.
That's insane.
And the other thing
Definitely
is,
the best power to weight ratio.
oh yeah. The Merlo is also pretty special too, because the height is a lot smaller. So the tree mech and a big stick boom are all going to be at that 13.6 mark, and the Merlo's only 10 feet tall. So when you're
Wow.
driving that into someone's backyard, you don't even really have to trim the tree branches to drive it underneath other trees.
And the boom is 90 feet, right?
96 foot of boom.
96 feet
Yep.
of boom. Okay.
But the Merlo, the ideal work range, I would say, is 60 feet or less. So if you can get that thing within 60 feet of the tree, it's
the fastest way.
it's the fastest
to take
way
down
for
a
sure.
tree.
The fastest and the safest, because you're not putting a climber up in the tree.
Right. Yeah, that's insane. And what about, like, say, from an economic standpoint, purchasing them? I mean, I imagine the prices of all of them are probably, well, at least tell me if you agree with this statement. Like, if you're buying your first crane, it seems like if you buy a stick boom crane, you probably have the most options, right? Like, if you're hard for cash but you want to buy a crane, you probably have the most options for stick booms because there are probably so many on the market to buy a used one,
Yep,
right?
especially like a boom truck.
Right.
You can get those for 200 or under. That's probably going to be your cheapest crane.
But the Tree Mech or the Merlo going to be quite a bit more.
Yeah. I'm guessing only because they've only been around they've been around for the shortest amount of time, so they're still like the new thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, I really appreciate you having me out here.
Yeah, I'm glad you came.
So, yeah,
Thanks
it's been
for
a
coming.
blast. So, have fun today.
Didn't really feel like work, did it?
No, it really didn't. Well, cool.
You're welcome back anytime. Yep.
Thanks, man. Well, cool. All right, well, have a good day, Reon. Thanks for having us.
You too. Have a safe drive.
Thanks, man. All right, well, that's it for the end of my trip here in Wisconsin. So I had just an absolute time of my life here. I love to hear it, but I'm off to my new adventures. And yeah, so just real quick, so Reon gave you his thoughts. I'll just give you my thoughts super fast on the crane. So as far as I can tell, it seems like if you need just sheer lifting power or reach capacity, you just need to pick a lot of weight. It seems like the stick broom pretty much reigns supreme in that department. That's going to be your strongest crane. That's going to give you the most lift. It's going to give you the most reach, depending on its size, if you get a big one. Also, if you're renting a crane, that's probably what you're going to get because there are so many options. The disadvantage is it takes a lot of manpower to run. There's a lot of time spent picking slings and stuff, but it's also going to give you the most height, and you can set it up on steep hills. So in the Pacific Northwest, it's the stick boom it's a better option where I live because our trees are really tall, and the stick boom is going to give you the most height, and we have lots of hills, and you can set it up on really steep hills. So those are the advantages of the stick boom. The knuckle boom, you have the most versatility. You can trim with it if you want. It's just take one big branch, one big leader. You don't have to set slings. You can do balance picks. You might have noticed on the first day we had 2 climbers in the tree. And then the next day we had 1 climber in the tree, and then the next day we had no climbers in the tree with the Merlo. So the knuckle boom, you've got it works as a crane. You can lift, and he was able to really finagle some stuff into a tight drop zone. So it seems like if you want sheer lifting power and height, go with the stick boom. If you want the most versatility possible, go with the knuckle boom. And if you want to just demolish a tree the fastest possible way, go with the Merlo. I mean, I've never seen a tree disappear that fast at that size. The disadvantage of the Merlo is it's a bit shorter, and it seems to me like you need actually a pretty big drop zone to drop those, except that you can actually suck it in and lift the tires, and you can actually drive with a piece too and put it down, but you still have to put it down this way. If you remember the knuckle boom, he turned it. If you are slinging something with the stick crane, you can turn and spin the pieces around too by hand on the ground. But the Merlo, you really have to just put it down like you grab it. So if you have the access and I think, and also you notice that the chip truck was, like, if the chip truck had been perpendicular to the Merlo when we were putting pieces down, or opposite of the Merlo, then Felipe would have had to turn those big pieces around in the street, and that would have been not quite as efficient as it was perfect the way it was, having the chip truck nosed up to the Merlo. So it seems like, yeah, sheer height and lifting power, stick boom, versatility, knuckle boom, get a tree down as fast as possible. I would pick the Merlo. The Merlo is freaking awesome. I loved watching that. But yeah, that's basically, my thought on which cranes are best and their pros and cons. But I would definitely say it depends largely on the region in which you live and the trees which you are working on. If I lived out here, I think Reon really did it right, you know, buying the tree mech. He had a stick boom and he sold it for the tree mech, and he only recently got the Merlo. But you can always rent a big stick crane when you need one. You know, you can't rent knuckle booms or Merlos as easily as you can the stick boom. So I think that he really did it right. If I lived out here, that's the way I would want to do it. But if I were to buy a crane where I live, I would try to get just the tallest stick boom that I possibly could. I wouldn't want to have a tree mech because of the hills, and I wouldn't want to have a Merlo because it's too short for our trees. And also our trees are tall, and you know, they call them X-current trees. You know, they're tall and skinny. They're D-current trees here where they're spready. You know, we don't so anyways, I'm rambling now. I think I've kind of made the point clear, and now you're probably falling asleep. So that's the end of this video. Like and subscribe. I hope it was helpful to you. If you want to support this channel, you know, support my travels, you can support me on Patreon. I'd really appreciate it. And mostly I just appreciate your time. I want to thank you for watching this video. I had a lot of fun making it for you, these videos. So all right, you have a good day. I'll see ya.